Today, I'm going to talk about something that you probably don't have. What is it? A chief of hospitality. Now, what is that? That is someone who is responsible for giving everybody great experiences in your office, in your practice, in your life. And for many years, we didn't have one in our office. We all sort of wore many different hats. You know, as a dentist, got to do the surgery, I got to talk to the patients, I got to do the treatment planning, sometimes I got to collect the money, I got to return phone calls. Can I remember everybody's birthday and anniversary at the same time? Can I make sure that the office is neat and clean? Can I make sure that if the carpets need to be cleaned or the paint needs to be touched up, that it's all being done? I can't because there's too many other things that are on my plate. And the same for a lot of my other team members. My dental hygienists are busy taking care of their patients. They can't take care of all these things. So a number of years ago, I thought about this, and a lot of this comes from the hospitality industry. You know, one of my mentors, Danny Meyer, taught me this, and Will Gadare wrote a book called Unreasonable Hospitality. Matter of fact, in his restaurant, was his ex-restaurant, but where he used to work, 11 Madison Park, he has 4 people whose job is to be chief of hospitality. And I was the recipient of some of that service when I was there. I went there one day, and I wanted to have a nice meal, and I'm sitting down, and I'm talking to the lady who's serving us, and I said, you know, I've written a book called Treating People, Not Patients, and it's all about hospitality and medicine and dentistry. And a lot of the things that we talk about in our book are taken right out of the hospitality industry. And Will Gadare is a big fan of that. As I know, is he here? And they go, he wasn't there that day. He goes, but would you like a tour of the kitchen? Without any hesitation, that person gave me a tour of the kitchen. Not only was it a tour, they sat me in the corner with my wife, and they made us a special drink. It was sort of like can't remember what they're called, but there was like soda and milk and, it's an egg cream. They made me an egg cream right in the kitchen, and the kitchen was meticulous. Will you bring all of your patients into your kitchen? Will you bring all of your patients into your laboratory, into your back office, into the surgical room? Would they show them that? Was it that neat and clean? Well, they're ready for that. And that it wasn't just a special room. It was right in the middle of the kitchen. Cooks were moving in and out. Runners were getting their food. I saw the stock room. I saw the fresh vegetables. It was an unbelievable experience. And then a chef comes over and he goes, oh, I heard you wrote a book. Let me meet you. And I sent him a book. And then he sent me a note back. And then all of this relationship that I have with 11 Madison Park came because I said, is Will Gadare here? I'm nobody in that restaurant. They see thousands of people. They see a lot of very famous people, heads of state, actors, musicians. I was just a guy there having a meal one day. They didn't know who I was, but I got a tour of the kitchen. And I'm talking about that right now. And that top hospitality, even though Will Gadare no longer runs that restaurant, is still there because he created a culture of it. In our practice, I like to believe we have that culture. And Taylor, she sort of sets the stage. She makes sure everybody is happy. And it could be a birthday, you know, which of course we all celebrate in a lot of our offices. But we celebrate anniversaries. You've been here 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Or we made sure that we were celebrating on your anniversary. If you got a promotion, maybe you passed your radiology exam or you passed your boards as a periodontist in our practice. You know, Dr. Evelyn recently did. Are they acknowledged? All those things are acknowledged. And also the things that are not so pleasant are acknowledged. The death of somebody. Somebody's in the hospital. We make sure we send some flowers, or we make sure a card is sent. We make sure we acknowledge them. And we reach out to the people that we've been serving. That's such an important job. And it's not just reaching out, it's making sure that the environment's clean too. Does someone look after the carpets? Do the carpets have a stain in them? Do they need to be clean? Every morning before we start the day, Taylor walks around the grounds. Okay, looks the front of the lawn, the back of the lawn, the parking lot, with gloves on, picking up any trash, picking up cigarette butts, okay? That people like maybe leave, you know, and they're walking by at night. All those little things are done. Most practices don't have a chief of hospitality. I'd like to say I've never seen a dental practice or a medical practice with a chief of hospitality. You'll see hospitality in some practices, but is there somebody who is just there dedicated to make sure that everybody's experience is top notch? Now you may think that experiences are important, but they're not that important. They're probably just as important as being surgically competent and doing the right diagnosis and treatment planning. Because if you make people feel good, and sometimes you make them feel good effortlessly, they're not even aware that you're making them feel good. Because sometimes feeling good is just the absence of not feeling bad. If you don't see anything wrong, if everything's going smoothly, you have a really nice experience. You always know when you have a bad experience. Those sort of stand out. We don't always know we have a good experience though, do we? We just know that the good experience may just be the absence of something bad. It could be as simple as a stain on the carpet, okay, or offering a patient a drink of water, or when you're running a little bit late, showing them the menu, which we do have a menu in the reception area, and saying, would you like something from our menu? Decaf, regular, all these types of teas, Diet Cokes, whatever you want. You know, whatever they'd like to have, fresh water, sparkling water. even power bars and things like that. We give a full menu to every patient that's there. And if somebody's waiting because one of their spouse or their kid is having surgery, we give them a private room where they can make some phone calls, or they can sit in the reception area and read one of our 20 magazines, all up to date. And there's a charging station, and whatever they want is right there, and aromatherapy, and people are being friendly. Sometimes when you come to our practice, you don't think you're in the reception area. You don't think you're in a waiting room. You think you're in a lounge waiting to be served a fine meal in a restaurant. That's the kind of vibe that I want to have in our practice, because people are relaxed, they're calm, and they're happier. They refer other people to our practice and they have a better experience. And isn't that what it's all about, to be the gift to those people we serve? So if you don't have a chief of hospitality, think about just taking someone in your practice and saying, hey, would you like that job? And you'll know who that person is. That person who loves other people, like Taylor. Have a great day, everybody.